Hi everyone, and welcome back to our Natural Fibres and Making podcast. My name's Kersti.
And I'm Merike. Hello.
And today we're going to talk to you guys about our hot takes. But first we're going to get into our regular scheduled programming of what we're doing this week.
Thank you.
Okay, so I decided that we need a rating scale for our show.
Okay.
Because I think some of the best people have rating scales. The Birds Papaya does a rom-com rating scale.
Okay.
Apps like Goodreads and stuff have rating scales. So I've decided we need a rating scale, and I've done it by skeins. So instead of like stars, skeins.
Skeins, got it.
For everything.
Okay.
We'll fine-tune this as we go. Like, what does each skein actually mean in theory?
Yeah,
but, like,
it also might change over time.
Yeah. I needed a way to, like, exemplify what I really love, though, and what I don't, because I've been consuming a lot because last week I was snowed in for 4 days straight and couldn't leave.
I didn't even get to come in last week.
Yeah,
so snowed.
I, as a result, have consumed a lot of things recently.
Okay.
As well, my husband was home, and we watched a lot of our shows that we've been waiting to watch. So, first, finished the new season of All Creatures Great and Small. I'm obsessed with this show.
I haven't seen it.
It is based in the Dales of England, and it's a vet. It's a true story. He wrote a book, and it's based in the 30s and then, 30s World War II era.
Okay.
And it starts way before World War II, and he essentially is a vet from Scotland. It's his first job. He ends up in the Dales, and it goes through a lot of like difficulties because he's essentially a city vet working in the country, deals with sheep, cows, whatever.
Okay.
And it's just really cute because you get to know everyone in town, and then eventually the war happens, and it's like based on his memoirs that he wrote.
So it's like vaguely true story.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And it's just really adorable and very comforting. And the last episode we haven't actually watched yet because the last episode of every season is a Christmas episode, and it's just so cozy.
That's so fun that they decided to end each season with a Christmas one.
And I love a Christmas episode. So we haven't actually watched it fully yet because I haven't watched the Christmas episode yet. But I'm giving it 4 skeins this season.
4 out of
5.
Oh,
I think that makes sense.
Okay.
We can fine tune the rating scale later. But 4 out of 5 skeins.
Oh wait, I'm not prepared with. Okay, I'll come up with my rating as we go on the fly.
But it was really, really good. But it wasn't my favorite season.
Yes.
But yeah, so that was a 4 skeins. Watched the new season of Shrinking, which is on Apple TV. That was a 5 skeins.
Ooh.
So really good. It's like season 2. Harrison Ford, the guy from How I Met Your Mother, Jason Segel. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
He's in it. They're therapists that try to like change therapy. I don't know. It's just really funny. It's really good. It's by the makers of Ted Lasso. So.
Oh, Shrinking like a shrink. Got it. Okay.
Okay. So it's really good. So it got 5 skeins. I watched You're Cordially Invited. That got 3 skeins. That's the new Will Ferrell movie. Where it's like his daughter's getting married, and I don't know. It's a cute rom-com.
Sounds like 3 skeins is like I could watch it, but don't need to.
Yeah.
Nothing to write home about.
And then I haven't yet watched, but I really want to watch it this weekend. The new Bridget Jones.
Oh, it came out?
Movie, yeah.
Ooh.
It's on Prime.
Okay.
And I'm really excited to watch it.
I feel like it might be a little bit of a letdown and be a bit cringy because it's so much later. But maybe it'll be good.
I think it's following the same premise that like all these other shows, like Baby Girl, the one with Anne Hathaway.
The older woman with the younger man.
Yeah.
Which I like that concept, but it has to be done carefully because if it's done wrong, it's really cringy.
The guy in the Bridget Jones version is the guy from One Day, the TV show that came out last year.
Oh, the heartbreaking one that everybody watched and I didn't watch because it's too sad.
Yeah, but he's really attractive and sweet and all that.
Okay.
But I mean, in the trailer you learn that Colin Firth has passed, which is heartbreaking in itself, and that Hugh Grant is still alive, I guess.
I just feel like it might kind of give the same awkward feeling as the way later Year in the Life Gilmore Girls, where like it didn't hit for me in the same way that I wished it would have.
But this is like number 4 for Bridget Jones.
Yeah.
So I mean, she's already.
But that's also
kind of
another
like,
reason why it might be a little bit.
I didn't really like the 3rd one.
Yeah.
The first 2 are like
great. Yeah. Oh well, I'll probably still watch it.
But yeah, that's my current all my
Watching.
things. Yeah.
Okay. What am I watching? Got so many papers. Oh, I'm watching another animated show. Well, we watch like movies in between, but then like our main shows are often animated because I feel like it's harder for us to, like me and my boyfriend, to agree on live action like themes of things, because like I like watching like historical drama or like, you know, Anne with an E or like things like that, where like he wants to watch like a bit more like we've agreed on some live action things like Severance we both really liked, because like it's like good acting with, but like it's kind of serious and a bit sci-fi, so that's a good blend. But it's very hard to find those blends, so I find we often agree on the animated, because we both love animation. Anyway, this is perfect for that because it's called Invincible, and it's like a superhero show, which I don't normally like.
Okay.
I don't like superheroes. Like, I'm not into Marvel, any of that. But this is like kind of a spoof of superhero, where like every character in it, you would be like, wait a minute, that could be Batman, but it's like called something else. Like,
yeah.
I think he's called Darkwing in this show. And like the main guy's like pretty much exactly Superman, but he's not. Like, it's like a dark take on the original characters, kind of. But it's funny, and like every voice actor, you'd be like, I know that voice, and like they're all famous people.
Do they touch on the fact that Batman is depressed? Because I haven't watched a single Batman movie where I'm not like, why are they never talking about how depressed he is?
He's really depressed. Well, in this show, it's funny because like how dark, this is a bit of a spoiler, but like how the Darkwing character gets his powers is like he goes into the underworld, which is a dark and scary place. So maybe that is their version of like touching on that.
Yeah.
But it's like really famous voice cast, like pretty, like Seth Rogen is an alien, which is like great, and like it's just like cheesy, but there's lots of twists and turns that keep you actually interested. I think it started 2022 or 2023. Okay. It's like new, but not super new. Like we are now caught up and we're waiting for the next episode to come out tomorrow or tonight. Whatever. But yeah, so we're like, I wasn't like bought in, but then I was converted to be like, yeah, okay, I can see why you like this. Some episodes I literally am like, this is so cheesy and superhero-y, but some episodes I'm like, this is really good. It's well written.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, but what are you listening to right now, if you have anything?
I didn't write. I don't have anything for listening because that hasn't really. I still listen to Armchair Expert. That's all I've got right now. Yeah, I'm all caught up on that right now.
Actually, I have a new one you'd like, a new podcast. Well, it's not new, but new to me. It's called the Long Thread Podcast. Have you heard of it?
No.
So it's by Long Thread Media, which apparently owns a bunch of like crafting magazines.
Oh.
But I don't know. I can't list to you what they are. I don't remember. But look that up on your own time. But yeah, I've been listening, and they interview like weavers, educators, like researchers, knitters, crocheters, dyers.
That's
from
cool.
all over the world. And like the host is the co-founder of Long Thread Media, so she's like been around for a long time in the industry, and she knows a lot. So she's not just like asking questions and doesn't know anything about it. She's like quite like knowledgeable herself.
That's cool.
And yeah, they have like a huge library of content to listen to, because I think it's been around for a couple of years. So I've only listened to like 4 episodes, but each one I've really liked. The one I listened to on the way here today was a designer called Lily M. Chin. Have you heard of her?
Like Lily Chin?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, Lily Chin.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They put an M because maybe she's...
Maybe.
It's probably the same person. It's gotta be. She's like funny and like lives in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But so she was on the podcast today, and she was really funny, and she's like a little bit older. I guess like maybe in her 70s, maybe. They didn't say, but I guessed. From what you're talking about. But the way... Anyway, I really liked that episode, and the one funny takeaway I had for today was that she has yarn. So she lives in a New York apartment, so there's not a lot of room, but she has a huge yarn stash, as all of us do.
Yeah.
But hers isn't just a huge yarn stash. She has 12 storage units of yarn. And she said she had to try to organize it in binders of inventory to know what was in what box and what was in what storage unit.
She could open up a yarn store.
Well, I don't know. I think she collects like rare yarns. So she was like, yeah, well, like the lady was like, oh, I've heard you have a big yarn stash. And I was like, oh, whatever, don't we all? But then she was like, yeah, I have 12 storage units. I was like, oh my.
That I feel like I want to put a pencil in. We should have an episode because that reminds me of like literally all the crazy but like lovable yarn stories we have. Because I think we have a lot, and I'm like immediately thinking of people we've like met at shows that have crazy stories, and we should do an episode where we just like go through all of those. Yeah. Because, yeah, it's kind of like, you know when people read Reddit stories that are like anonymous?
Yeah, they're like relatable but anonymous snippets.
Yeah, because I have a lot of really good ones from over the years of not 12. That's a lot of yarn, but I've heard like really funny ones.
Well, yeah, and people who like, I don't know, they went on vacation and they're like whole suitcases yarn and they had like one tank top.
They're priorities.
That's not a real story, but I could imagine it being one.
It could be. But that's really fun.
But yeah, the podcast is really good if you want to, long thread podcast.
Do you have any more listening to?
I have another one, but it's kind of out right now because they're out of episodes for me because I've listened to all of them. I've told you about it before, but it's called The Curious History of Your Home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I still need to listen to that, so I need to bring that back up.
So that one's really good for, like, it's not just about crafting. It's about, like, anything in your home, like, from chairs to fridges to air conditioning to windows to neighbors. Like, literally anything to do with your house. She deep dives and goes throughout time and tells you a story in, like, different time periods in different countries. And so you kind of get this, like, long woven story. So, well, not that long. It's like half an hour. Mm-hmm. But a woven story of how this thing in our home became so important. Like, even there's one episode about cutlery, or just forks even, I think. And I was like, okay, well, how much can there be to say about forks? But no, there's a lot about forks. And, like, you don't realize how much happened to get these normal things. Anyway, but there are some crafty-related episodes. Like, one was really good about carpets. Okay. And it was, like anyone who's into, like, weaving or knitting or anything like that would be like, oh, that's things I didn't quite know.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. I could see that being a really good... I remember, like, when I was doing my history degree, there'd be people doing their PhDs on, like, something super specific, and it's just, like, crazy.
Well, it's exactly what this lady does. She's, like, this weird, kooky British lady, and her job is literally, like, she's lived in a Tudor-style home for the sake of research. Yeah. Like, she like, lived the life for a few months to, like, report on it. That's cool. She's, like, really weird.
I like that.
I like her.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do reading next. Okay. Because that's kind of like your line of listening.
Yeah, because I don't have a reading, so.
So I finished The Odds of Getting Even by Amanda Sellett, and that book is one of the books that I got on NetGalley that comes out later this year. Yeah. I'm giving it 3 skeins.
Oh, I forgot about the skein system.
You haven't finished... Well, I guess you could give your show a
I could give my show a skein count. Oh. Now? Yeah. Out of 5. Can I do, like, 3.75 out of 5?
You could do that.
Like, okay. Yeah.
Like, instead of, like, 100-gram skein, it's, like, a 50-gram...
like their 25-gram skein Betty's. Okay. So I feel like 4 out of 5 is a little too high for me, because there's a lot of cheesy moments. But fair. It's good. I do enjoy it. But there's a lot of cheese where it's not quite for me.
That's fair. I think mine could then be like 3.5 skeins out of 5 if we're getting like if we're halving. Because I feel bad giving it 3 skeins because it is a good book. It's just not. I don't even want to say it's not my kind of a book. It's just it happened, like the conclusion happened quickly, and it's very cutesy. Like the man.
It must be cutesy if you're calling him a boy.
He's, like, in my opinion, probably on the spectrum. He's very shy. He's hyper intelligent. He comes from money. He's hiding in Hawaii. He meets this girl that's super social.
Honestly, that's what the book should have been called. Hiding in Hawaii. It's hilarious.
He's the, like, mogul of, like, a massive beer company, and then she finds out and goes to the party and pretends to be some, like, socialite so she can, like, sabotage him because she's so upset that he lied to her. But he's just, like, awkward and really intelligent and loves snakes. And, like, when they spent a weekend together in Hawaii and she didn't know who he was, they, like, played hide and seek naked and, like, stuff like... It's, like...
It's a bit too teenagery, maybe.
Yeah, I just, like, I don't know. It was maybe just, like, how docile he was that I just couldn't... It wasn't my type.
Maybe he's, like, not... He's not the kind of guy you can root for?
Yeah.
Okay, there you
go.
But
she's the girl I could root for, which was interesting. So, but anyways, It's very cute. It's a good storyline. It, like, hooks you pretty quickly, but, like, it's 3.5 skeins.
I love that how Also, you said he loves snakes, and he's just not really for me, because you don't like snakes.
I don't like snakes. I, like, it's just, yeah. It's just not my cup of tea.
True, I also can't imagine you with someone shy.
No.
You would be like, talk.
Like, I like someone who's social. I like someone who can, like, come in a room and
doesn't want to sit in the corner alone with snakes in Hawaii.
Yeah, that's essentially, like, that's my cup of tea. And then I'm currently working through The Wedding People by Alison Espach. It's, like, was a huge book last year, and I say working through because I would have DNF, so not finished the book, had I not been reading it alongside a friend who's also reading it right now.
Okay.
And she read through it already. She gave it 5 stars. I don't even think I'm going to be giving
She's
it 5
on the star
skeins.
system, not
She's
skeins.
on the star system. I don't think I'm going to give it 5 stars or skeins. It's like, I'm struggling. It starts off really strongly with, like, mental health, and then, like, it pretty much, like, suicide and a lot of, like, heavy stuff. And then throughout the whole book, you, like, start to, like, get to know the character who's going through this. And I'm like,
it's a bit too much to start with. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge trigger warning,
but
I guess.
Yeah, huge trigger warning.
Does it say anything on the front about it?
A
or
little
the
bit,
back?
but not
I feel like it
really.
should almost have to.
And also, I feel a little bit like they're just kind of glossing over the whole thing as the book goes through. I love the characters, though. Like, the characters, I like their personalities now that I'm getting to know them, but I kind of wish I got to know them first and then we went through the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But the plot line's really good, and, like, it's essentially a woman that checks in at a hotel, and the entire hotel is a wedding, and she is not a part of the wedding, and then the bride is like, what are you doing here? You shouldn't have been able to even book a room. Like, this was only supposed to be wedding guests.
Yeah, it's private.
And so she just gets enveloped by the wedding people. Like, people that go to a wedding.
Right.
So it's like fun plot line, and I, to be honest, think it could have been just like a little less heavy. But also that's my cup of tea. So I'm sure there's people who love it, and I know
so far rating?
So far rating 3 skeins.
3 skeins. All right.
It could end up being 4 depending on how it finishes, but
yeah, I mean, you can't really judge yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm. So that's my reading.
I guess a general obsessed with I have right now, which this is an obvious, but natural fibers made in Canada. Obsessed with finding them at thrift stores. Sounds weird.
That's very specific.
But I have found 2 made in Canada wool things at the thrift store this week.
Like sweaters or yarn?
Oh, finished items,
okay.
Not wool. Not craft supplies. But I found a 100% wool, except for the lining, jacket made in Canada. I will insert photo. Amazing. Adam said that I looked like, my boyfriend, said that I looked like I am a Canadian, the first Canadian woman running for Prime Minister in the 1970s. And I said, that is a compliment in a cool way.
I immediately think of that, I am Canadian, that's what's running in my head right now.
And then, and then I also found a wool blend. I think it's like wool and nylon, but whatever. I'm not a purist. A wool and nylon made in Canada, like ribbed cream sweater. So I found 2 made in Canada natural fibers items at the thrift store this week. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
So,
I feel
new
like
obsession. And this isn't made in Canada, but I did find a 100% merino cardigan.
You're doing well.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's what my new, like...
read the fiber content?
Yeah, well, that's been a long time. But, like, Easter egg hunt is finding those golden eggs of Canadian natural fiber.
I wonder if we could also, like, list, when you're going through, you could list, like, the brands that those are.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of cool that they're Canadian.
They definitely seem old.
Yeah.
But maybe you could
help.
find you could look for those labels at least. But yeah, anyway. What are you making, if that's next?
So I'm still working on my new sweater design.
Did you bring it?
I did bring it, but it's not in this room, so pause. Okay. Okay. So I'm still working on my first sweater pattern design since I got back into sweater pattern designing. And here we are so far. I split for the sleeves, and I'm now working on the body, and I'm slightly less excited for it than I was, which is kind of sad.
No, it's beautiful.
And I blame a few things. One, I'm setting blame. One, it's going to look really good when it's blocked.
Yeah.
But for now, it's like all fluffy and I'm just like, the bigger picture is not there.
Yeah.
Two, so this is a new yarn for Koigu and it's not released yet. And it's a fluffy merino.
Yeah,
or fluffy wool.
Brushed merino.
And there's no mohair, no alpaca, no nothing. So it's really cool. And
really light.
Because it's new, we have new colors coming in. And we just got this. And I really like this color.
Really hold it forward. Like a pretty beigey brown.
And I wish instead of the blue I had done that. So that's my first pet peeve.
But you can make another one. This is just the first sample.
And two, I feel like drawing the Fair Isle is a lot of fun, but then you can get too many.
Well, it might, but I think when you get into your bigger motifs, these will look less, like, lost.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, it'll fade, it'll be nice because it'll fade from white into your motifs rather than just go straight in. I think you'll like it when you're done.
I got a...
Also, you can't be so hard on yourself for the first try of something new.
I blame, but also loved, I got a notebook that's just...
Ooh,
graph paper.
Yes.
And so I, every night, have been, like, drawing out little...
little ideas.
Yeah. And... because of this, I'm like, ooh, but I like this, and I like this, and I like this.
You can't make it all at once. You have to do one first.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, should have done this, or I could have done this, and that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It's like kind of like the new shiny thing, and also like you haven't seen the payoff of this one yet, so you're kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
But I think when you get into the big motifs and the sleeves a little more, you'll be like, oh, this is pretty.
Yeah. I think I am also really excited for spring, and this makes me think of winter.
Yeah, true. This, like, I almost feel like you would have liked to start this at, like, Christmas.
Yeah.
And then you would be still working on it while we had so much snow. We still have snow. But...
We still have lots of snow. But, yeah, highly recommend to anyone, whether you're designing or not, though, getting a graph paper book. Because it's so fun.
Well, because it's like, writing on lines is clean, but then you can also draw. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
also
where I'm
really
at.
good for check boxes. You know? Also impressed that you're being so monogamous with your pattern.
Not really. I'm still working on a
What
sleeve.
are you working on?
I have a cardigan. I'm doing the Agnek cardigan by Petite Knit in Koigu Cordale, and I've been working on it for like 2 years.
Oh, is this the cabled one?
No,
this is the green one.
The brioche one.
What one is that?
It's green.
It is the green one,
yeah.
Okay.
But I'm like this far on my last sleeve, so I work on that during meetings if I don't have to take notes for work, and that one's just kind of going, but I actually think that one might be done soon.
Ooh.
So then I could have a full green outfit because I'm wearing green pants right now.
And you can do a show and tell next episode.
That feels very...
2 weeks?
Maybe 2 weeks. It could be done, but not blocked.
Okay.
Let's give, like...
I think we're okay with showing not blocked items.
Okay.
I mean, I'm wearing a not blocked item.
We'll maybe take that in the hot takes.
Uh-oh.
A blocking hot take, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
Fun. Oh. I guess it's me. Well, I guess I can first mention what I'm wearing is something I've made. I didn't make it recently, but I crocheted this little top, which was fun because it taught me a new stitch, which is like this shell stitch at the bottom. And the back is fully shell stitch, so it's really stretchy, so like it wasn't super, like the only part that mattered about the fit was the boobies. So like the shaping.
And you did like perfect like size wise.
Yeah, with the like chest shaping, I think the sizing, like it was really made to measure, like the pattern explained really clearly where to measure and how long to make things, which I really appreciated that. So I like how that turned out. And it's made with Koigu Jasmine. Scoot. Poppy. This is Poppy. There you go.
Do you want to come sit with me? Did the evil Merike...
Yeah, I did.
Unhouse you?
Oh, yes. Okay, we had technical difficulties, but I was explaining This top, I made it recently. Maybe like almost a year ago now, actually. It feels like recent. But yeah, it's made with Koigu Jasmine, which is a DK weight merino, and it was fun because it taught me this new shell stitch, and then the shaping around the boobs was fun because it had a really good measurement chart in the pattern. Anyway, it's by I don't know how she says it exactly, but it's like Aurein crochet on Instagram. Oren crochet? I don't know, but I'll link it in the notes. And she's like our age and just like does really interesting and like really well fitting crochet dresses and garments. So this was a good project to like learn some new construction, even though it's pretty simple, but I hadn't really done anything like this before. So yeah, anyway, that's what I'm wearing. But what I've been making, I brought it along to show, is it's called the Amélie T Junior by Petite Knit. Once again, Petite Knit rears her head, but she has she has so many patterns, and it's great to learn like good construction of basic things.
Yeah.
So this is just a raglan shaped t-shirt, and it's for my nephew, so it's like really little, but it's finally starting to look a little bit like something.
Cute.
And it is the tiniest like yarn I've ever used. It's Sandisgarn Sunday. It's 100% merino, but the little stripies are turning out really cute. And yeah, I'm learning shaping, and I actually cast it on 4 times before I got it properly. So yeah, I've been learning.
You've been learning the stuff.
It's turning out, and
it's really cute.
Yeah, like.
Are you doing the striping following her striping?
Yeah, she has 2 options where you have 2 colors or 3 colors, and I chose 3 colors, so I have this like grayish, purplish, a gray, and a beige.
It's gonna be so cute.
It'll be really cute. Yeah. So this has been a learning process, and I'm really excited for how it turns out. Also, I feel like this is like knitting on hard mode, which will, when I make that raglan shaped sweater that we talked about on the last episode, and it'll be bulky yarn, it's gonna be like,
yeah, you're learning such good stuff right now.
Like, it will make it feel so much easier when I go onto my bulky weight yarn, because this is like fingering, like thin fingering, which is like, I don't even know why I'm hurting myself with this.
I feel like that's gonna be so cute with like linen pants, the colors you've chosen.
Yeah, well, and my nephew wears like a lot of like olive and beige and cream and stuff, because my sister dresses him and stuff like that, so I think it'll be really cute. But yeah, that's what I've been making.
I like those.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I literally told you all about what I was going to make last episode, and then this popped out of nowhere because I realized I had the yarn.
You're kind of a mood crafter.
I am totally a mood crafter, but I have been monogamous with this for like 2 weeks.
That's big.
Yeah, I haven't worked on anything else because I feel like once I get on a roll, which I'm finally in a straight knitting section, like in the round, now that I've joined into the round, now I can just like breeze through it. Whereas for the first bit, I was like, I need to focus while I have it in my head, otherwise I will do wrong. So I'm finally at a point where I can put it down. But before I was like, I need to keep track.
Off air, we were talking about in-laws, and I know you already were doing this when you were at the cottage last summer, but I feel like you're now in the stage of like, if you're like me, you're really excited about what you're working on, so you can bring to the in-laws and at dinner.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of idle time where you're just sitting around as people
everybody's talking about stuff that you don't really know about. And you're kind of like, well, I'm related to you, but not really, so I can just sit in the corner and knit. And then it's a topic starter too, where someone's like, what are you working on? And you're like,
I always forget to either bring my knitting, and then there's like an hour or 2 hour stage, like either before dinner or after dinner, where we're not like doing anything,
itching to go home to your project.
And then I'm like, why didn't I? And knitting is so much better than reading in those situations.
Yeah.
Because like at least you're more social.
Talk. Yeah.
Reading, you're like kind of just like putting yourself.
Well, and it's like it's better than like being on your phone awkwardly. Like this, at least like engaging, and people like respect it, not like she's on her phone and being rude. This like I don't think it's being rude.
No, I don't.
If someone thinks it is, then screw off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay, are we ready for our hot takes?
Yes.
Hot takes and red flags, green flags, beige flags. Poppy's gonna vote. You can vote in the comments.
Okay, so do you want to start with your list of hot takes, and then we're going to dive into some special ones?
Like start with these?
Yeah.
And then, okay. Well, so I didn't really stick with just hot takes. We have little red flags, green flags.
We have little flags, so we'll blow them up on the screen.
I'll pull up my flags.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't keep it quite to just like flags, but there's some of them are like we can discuss if it's good, bad, or like what
maybe
our
give like
thoughts are.
immediate reaction. And
Yeah. Immediate. Ooh, I like immediate reaction and hold up flag.
Okay.
Yeah, and then explain. Yeah, got it. Okay. I like it. So the first thing I wrote down is, you know what? Some people only make one kind of garment, like only shawls, only hats. They're like, I make socks, and you're like,
yeah.
Okay. Red flag.
Red
Both
flag.
red flags.
Yeah.
Okay, why? What do you think?
So when I was working, no shade to the Sophie scarf because it's literally the basis of like a huge knitting boom right now. But when I was working on it, I was like, the amount of time it took me to make the Sophie scarf is the amount of time it would have taken me to get to like here on a sweater. And then I had an immediate anger towards people that only do shawls and scarves and say they can't make a sweater because it's too much. Because I was like, this scarf took me so long. It took me multiple days. I was like, this is dumb. I could have done like a huge chunk of a sweater. So yeah, I think that's why I'm like, I think people automatically think like scarves or shawls. This is really just an attack on shawl people.
Shawl hater.
Because sweaters aren't that much harder, and that's all I have to say.
Yeah. I feel like in the similar way we were talking about earlier off camera, but that like when people stick to one thing, they've kind of just decided, I've learned enough. And I think that's a really weird way to live life in general. Like, I've learned how to master socks, and now I'm a master sock knitter, but I will never make anything else. Well, it's like, I don't know, I just find it kind of like a cop-out. Like, don't you want to learn? Like, I'm not saying you have to make everything, but I just feel like I'd like to learn to make everything, and then maybe you focus on your favorites.
Yeah.
But it just feels odd to be like, I make baby booties. And it's like, okay.
Well, it's kind of like pushing your mind versus like staying status quo.
Yeah.
It's like you should always like find, like you can have an easy project and a hard project.
Yeah, you can have your go-tos.
Like, push through a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, okay. Next is, how do you feel about when people buy supplies just because, like any craft supply, but have no project in mind? I mean, I think I'm going to put beige.
Okay, mine's a green.
Okay, why?
I am the queen of buying supplies and not using them right away or not knowing what I'm going to do with them. I bought a shit ton of beads and charms in the fall, and I have not beaded or done any charm bracelets yet. During the pandemic, I bought a shit ton of clay. It's because I was like, oh, maybe I'll do clay earrings. I made one clay earring.
Yeah.
I can't judge anyone that does that.
I think that's what you just said is exactly why I put beige, is because I do that too, and I kind of hate myself for it. Like, I have every supply for every fiber art. I have every supply for like half the woodworking arts. I have everything to make leather goods. I have everything to do everything, which is great, but also insane.
Yeah, I have a sewing machine because I thought I would like sewing.
Yeah, I have a sewing machine too, and have I done anything with it? Like 3 things.
Yeah, I learned to hate sewing.
I just bought a quilting frame a few months ago because I thought I could convert it to be rug hooking frame. I'm not sure I can. So now I have this frame in my room that is taking up space. Like, I feel like that's where it's like, yes, but also no.
That makes sense for a beige flag. Yeah, I think,
Like, because some people are also hard asses and they're literally like, I only buy if I know exactly what I'm doing. And I'm like, okay, but then how do you do something if inspiration strikes?
Yeah, that's fair.
Halfway,
That's fair. I see the beige flag in it.
Yeah.
I'm still a green flag, but I see why you're a beige flag.
Okay. This actually you talked about recently was if you're doing color work knitting or crochet, do you catch your floats or not? Beige.
Beige.
I don't have a flag for this because I'm not well enough for this. Like you, I feel like can comment. I've only done color work like once.
So when I first did color work when I was really little, because again, I grew up with yarn and I've been knitting since I was like 4, my grandma taught me to catch my floats.
Yeah.
And she's very big on you cross your yarn every stitch, and then she has beautiful, like some of the sweaters we have here, you can look at the back side and it's beautifully done. Crossing your yarn on every stitch and catching your floats is actually just, in my opinion now, so much...
It's so much work.
Yeah. And I have,
it makes sense
like,
sometimes.
The little ring thing that you can have your two-color
Norwegian knitting thimble.
That's what
it's called.
That's cool. So I have that, and I'm not crossing, and I'm not catching my floats, and I'm just going, because I'm a really fascinator, and if I stop to do that stuff, I would just get annoyed and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's why it's beige flag, is because I understand why it can be beautiful, but I don't think you have to do either way, and I don't think you should have a strong opinion.
I think the reasons I've heard are so that it doesn't get caught. But I read something the other day that said if you knit with like natural fibers and like toothier fibers, you know, like a bit more like natural wool or like something that can be a bit more grabby, that after you've blocked it, then if you knit properly, it'll felt a little bit and you won't be grabbed anyway. Because if you look at like old Norwegian sweaters, like I have a vintage Norwegian sweater, and it like the floats are not caught, but you can barely pull the floats off because it's part of the sweater now.
Yeah.
So like I think it depends. Like I could imagine with colorwork socks, you probably want to catch your floats because what, otherwise your toe gets grabbed, probably. But like I think it depends.
No, that's why I'm very beige flaggy on it, because that's a really good point. Joey, the sweater I made for Joey is with the cordell, and it's a natural wool, and I don't want to say felted because that's not the right word, but it kind of just blends
grabbed
to each other.
A little bit, and it's flat against the surface if you do your tension properly.
Yeah, and I think the sweater that I just showed that I'm working on will probably do the same. I'm anticipating it'll get a little bit tighter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, beige.
Yeah. Okay, hot take. Adding mohair doesn't always make something better. I think I'm gonna go.
So I'm saying green flag because I agree.
Yeah, green flag, I agree. This is where I was saying I'm not quite green, red flag always. But yeah, I think like there's been a bit of a nuts moment here where everyone's like, hold it together with a string of mohair. And it's kind of like, I don't want everything to be fuzzy. I like fuzz, but I don't want.
Well, most of Petite Knits from like 2 years ago, her patterns are all
everything
held
with tinsel mohair.
Yeah, and I didn't do any of her patterns held with mohair,
no.
and I think they're fine.
Yeah, like, and you don't even, like, I find some of the gauge isn't even that different with the mohair, so you can just remove the mohair and keep going, and it's fine. Yeah, like, I like it from sometimes, but I think we've gotten a bit out of hand.
I think so too. I think people got mohair crazy, and that's not that there isn't a place for mohair, but like,
Yeah. Okay, what about measuring your gauge when you've already started your project? Like measure, like you know when you knit like a few inches of your project and then you measure gauge and you're like, yeah, good enough.
That's a green flag for me.
Yeah,
I
think
do that.
That's fine. I do it too.
I think we're the exact like we need one more person on this panel that is a
knitting nun.
Knitting nun. Or I was gonna say,
follower.
Yeah, I was gonna say knitting Nazi, but knitting nun sounds way better. But yeah, no, we need a rule follower because neither of us are swatch.
Yeah. I do tell other people, like when I work at the yarn shop, that they should always gauge swatch, especially if you're changing yarns.
Do you gauge swatch?
Gauge swatch?
Yeah, if you're telling everyone to gauge swatch.
No, that's just what I'm saying, is I tell people, but I don't do it.
Yeah,
because I'm willing to rip out my work. But why I tell people to gauge swatch is, if you don't want to rip out your work, then do a gauge swatch, because you're going to be mad at yourself. But for me, I'm like, I know that I either don't care or I'm willing to rip it back.
Yeah, so
that's the game you have to play.
Throwing in there then, is it a red flag, a green flag, or a beige flag? People who think you should only gauge swatch, or you have to always gauge swatch, which for me that's a red flag.
I feel like it's a beige flag because I get it. It does make sense. But it just also sometimes feels like a waste of
I think
time.
Yeah, it's kind of like onus, and if we're getting legal into terms here, it's like you take on the risk by not doing the gauge swatch, and if you're willing to take on the risk, then no one should get mad at you.
Well, it's like... Yeah.
And you can't get mad at yourself. I guess the thing
is
eating
like expired
you can't be angry.
food.
Yeah. Back to...
You're not hurting anyone, but
voting.
You might get sick.
Yeah. So it's your right to not, but maybe...
But now you can't complain.
You can't complain.
You can't complain. And I don't complain. I do. Oh, okay, wait, here we go. This is a segment I call Hot Takes from the Yarn Shop. Because I hear things. People talk. People talk loud at the yarn store, and I go...
Knitters and crafters are gossipy.
So... One lady literally said, I was wearing a hat that I made, the one I showed last episode, and I guess the alpaca might have a little bit of nylon or something to, like, strengthen it. And she's literally, while I was in earshot, she said, I wanted to make that hat, but I can't because it's not pure alpaca, because it has a little bit of nylon. And I was like, You're that much of a yarn purist that you can't have, like, strengthening, like, just a little bit of nylon. It's not like it's, like, alpaca, like, acrylic, whatever. Like, again, no shame on the acrylic, but, like, it's not even like it was anything but a strengthening, like, thread. She was like, oh, I can't.
Okay, so, I guess immediate flags.
Red.
But red for both sides of this, because I was going to say, on the flip side, there's people that will only buy yarn to make socks that have nylon in it.
Yeah, well, that's a different thing.
But no, it's the same thing. It's like it's just like the flip side of it, where they're like, I can only make socks with nylon in it. I'm like,
natural fiber's not strong enough. Well, it's like, no, people made it without nylon for thousands of years.
Yeah, so it's like, I think there's such a flip of, like, you can do, like, nothing is, like...
There's no rule.
No.
Well, that's where, like, when people get really sticklery, it's like, that's a different version of knitting none. And I really like this lady at the yarn store. She's really cool. But then I was like, oh, I appreciate that you only use natural fibers, which also, up to you. Mm-hmm. But she was being so purist about it that even though it had a thread of nylon through it, she couldn't make that project. I was like, can't? Okay. Okay, other hot take from the yarn shop is some people said that they learned to make socks on DPNs and they're grateful that they did because now it feels easy to use small circular. And I was thinking, learning on DPNs instead of circular, maybe there's something there because it teaches you hard first.
Okay, beige
and foundations first.
Beige flag, because when you were explaining this to me, it immediately made me think of...
beige.
Learning to drive a car. My mom taught me to drive a truck because she said if you can drive a truck, you can drive anything.
Yeah.
And that feels like
everything feels easier after.
Yeah. That being said, I hate DPNs.
Yeah.
With another passion.
But I think that's where if you got really confident with DPNs first, which you don't have to become a master, but you feel confident, then you can move on and be like, okay, now I know I don't want to use those, but I could, and now circulars feels easier, or whatever it is that you might need to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get it,
but I'm not, like, sold on it because I don't necessarily think it could be the best advice for everyone.
Yeah. Well, I feel like
beige.
That kind of, like, lends itself to my thing where I was saying with the little t-shirt I'm making, like, learning new techniques on smaller yarn and smaller needles is kind of interesting because then once you figure it out on the small, then when you size it up, it's going to feel like easy mode.
Yeah.
Which I kind of like that.
That's fair.
I guess it's also kind of the same thing like some people say if you want to learn like a shape of a garment, make it for a baby first. Because then you get to make it really fast, but you can basically just size it up to make it for an adult. For certain things.
This is where then I throw in it's a beige flag and it's not a red or a green, or it's not a green flag I should say, is because I genuinely think children's clothes are harder to make than...
Because they're so little.
Yes. So it's a beige flag because that doesn't always ride true.
Yeah, I think it depends. It's true. Okay, other hot take from the yarn shop. Only using free patterns. I think, once again, beige.
Red.
Okay, go.
I think,
I might be more red, too.
You might be more red?
Yeah.
I think only using free patterns is great because there's a lot of great free patterns out there. However, only is the word that I'm stuck on there because I think you got to pay it forward, and I believe this in everything. It's like you can stream, but maybe you buy, like, I don't know, maybe you buy tickets to go to the movie rather than waiting to stream it or whatever. I just think we get so much free or instant or everything, and it's kind of pay it back to the artist.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I'm going to change to red flag too because I totally agree with you where it's like we get all our music on Spotify, but then you buy the concert ticket where it's kind of like, okay, so maybe your favorite designer has a blog and there's some free patterns on there or they have some YouTube stuff, but maybe when they come out with a pattern that you're like, oh, then buy that pattern because you can afford $8 to pay for a lunch for your designer that you like.
Yeah.
And I feel like, using lots of free patterns is great, but like some people I think I have heard some people get stuck on like, well, I've already spent $80 on the yarn, now I don't want to spend $10 on the pattern. And it's like, okay, but now are you just going to copy what they did and not buy the pattern? It's not, I don't know that that's like stealing, it's just, I feel like you're being a bit cheap in the wrong way.
Yeah, and we're not saying I'm not saying buy all the patterns all the time because that can be really expensive, but like I think we can all afford to buy like one pattern a year towards a designer, whether it's an indie designer or a very popular designer, like everyone can do with support, and I think, like, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah. And it's like, again, patterns are, it's not like every time you have to buy a pattern book, you're buying like an $8, $10, $12 pattern.
Yeah.
It feels reasonable for like a recipe for a thing you really want to make.
And sometimes investing in, it's kind of like anything, like investing in a good pattern can sometimes be better than like a random pattern you got on YouTube because it was free.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, someone has put a lot of effort in, they've paid like pattern checkers, they've paid this, that, whatever, like, it's gonna be good.
Yeah. Agreed. One final one that I heard from the yarn shop, and not to call anyone out specifically, but someone literally out loud said, "I'm so sick of petite knit." And I was like, I get it. Okay, fair. But don't hate on her.
I think that's hilarious. I'm gonna do beige flag.
Beige for petite knit. She's so beige.
A beige for petite knit. I think it's just the flavor of the years, I guess. But, like, again, having been in the industry since I was like a baby, there was the petite knit of the 2000s. There was the petite knit of the 2010s. Like I'm sure people have said that about like Stephen West or Melissa Liebman or all these amazing designers that just get really popular, and that's all that anyone's making, or Andrea Mowry or things like that. Like, it's just the moment of right now, and that doesn't mean you have to like make those patterns.
Yeah, well, yeah, and like I think the lady was nice, and she basically, her reasoning was like, I just don't want to make another raglan sweater, and I don't want to make another basic. And I was like, I get it. But at the same time, she has done this woman, Petite Knit, whatever her actual name is, Meta something, like, she's done a really great job, and she has brought modern knitwear forward in her own way.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. And like you said, you don't have to make it.
No, that's the funny thing about crafters who follow trends, and I'm guilty of this. I follow trends in my clothes that I wear. But, like, it's so funny because the whole point of slow making is, like, you're supposed to not follow trends because by the time you finish your sweater, it might not be on trend anymore.
Well, it's like everyone and their brother was crocheting. I don't know if you saw, but everyone was crocheting those granny squares that had like the really funky shape of flower. I think they were like 6 petals or something, and they looked very 70s. And like, I swear, every second blanket and every second cardigan I saw was that same flower. I liked it at first, but then I was like, oh my god. But it's like you said, I mean, it's the flavor of a few months, and like, it's still beautiful when you're done. It just because other people have made the same thing doesn't make it less.
Yeah, so...
Like, I don't know. Well, and like, certain yarns even go in and out of fashion.
Yarns are
certain
so
tools come
trendy.
in and out of fashion.
Yarns can be so trendy.
Yeah. Well, and like, honestly, I bought a loom, like a table loom, because I really liked the company's Instagram, like Funem Studio.
Yeah.
I got their loom for my birthday 2 years ago because I was like, I really like what I've been seeing about them. And then I like kind of stopped seeing it, and now I've like forgotten about my loom. So I fall into the same thing.
Bring
like, you
back the
see,
loom.
yeah, no, I want to make a little rug. But yeah.
That could be an outdoor activity. We should do outdoor crafting things. A looming.
Oh my god. Yeah, portable crafts. Because it's a
not
film
looming,
that I can...
weaving.
Yeah, like my loom literally comes apart really easily and goes in this little travel bag.
That would be a great patio activity.
It would.
But...
Yeah. Well, that is all of the ones I wrote down, but we do have more that we found. Should we do some
spicy ones?
Yeah. So we asked AI, like ChatGPT and Gemini, which I know some people think that's a red flag to use AI, but it is interesting to see what it comes up with. We asked for it to give us spicy crafting hot takes. So here's what ChatGPT came up with.
And we are going to do an AI episode because I work a lot with AI in my non-craft world, and I do think there's a lot of great use cases for it in the crafting world, and I don't know if it's been really covered yet.
When people
we'll do an episode
villainize it too where it doesn't need to be, and we're going to discuss.
Yes.
We're going to discuss that in another episode, so hold on that.
But for now, ChatGPT said, oh, you want spicy, spicy. Let's turn up the heat. Extra spicy knitting, crochet, and yarn hot takes. And this is the yarn industry and business side. So, hand-dyed yarn isn't always better.
I think that's true, even especially, like, we are a hand-dyed yarn company, but I can, like, even my project I'm working on in my bag right now isn't hand-dyed, it's by Sandiscarn, and, like, sometimes you do just want, like, a clean solid, dependable yarn that no matter the dye lot, it looks the same, and you just want a yarn. And, like, I think that's definitely true. Like, whereas I love, love, love everything we have, but I feel like sometimes you do just want, like, an $8
And it's recipient based. Like, I think I've done a lot of little knits for little people. I mean, you're doing a little knit for a little person right now. And, like, hindsight is I did those with hand-dyed yarns, and the owners loved them, obviously, but the kid grew out of it immediately, and they probably could have been fine with just, like, a non-hand-dyed yarn.
Yeah.
Like, it was...
And it doesn't mean it's lower quality. It just means it's less expensive, less unique, and maybe a little more easy to care for.
Yeah.
And, like, that's fine.
So, yeah, I'd say that's a beige... Like, if we're giving flags, I'd say that's a beige flag.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna... Some of these are extra spicy, so feel free to do your own Googling at your own time, because I'm not gonna say some of these on air. But this one's funny. Some designers overcomplicate patterns to seem more innovative. Just because it's different doesn't mean it's better.
Yes, I think that's definitely true, where, like, sometimes you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Be like, this is based on this, and now I'm just gonna basically sell you the color work of it, or whatever it is that you've added.
Yeah. And, like, I come from a grandmother who did highly complicated design patterns in the early 2000s, and they were stunning, and a lot of people did make them. But that being said, like, she then hit a wall where it was like, well, I can't do something basic because that people won't expect that from me. And that sucks, because it's like people then expected overcomplicated stuff, and I don't know.
Well, you're hurting yourself. Like, you get stubborn. Like, I've fallen into that same trap where, like, I'm making my dress, my crocheted dress, and I'm designing it, and I'm like, every section has to have an intricate detail, but, like, does it though? No, now I'm just like I'm like, it's actually making it worse. Yeah.
This one is also a little bit spicy, but let's see. Some support small business people are just anti-corporate snobs.
Ooh. I feel like I'm leaning towards red flag.
I'm leaning towards red flag as well.
There's nuance to it.
There is. It's a hot take. I think supporting small business is strongly, I do. But I do think there's some people that are a little bit nun-like about it.
Yeah. Where, like, you cannot go to Michael's
or
if you
can't go to Amazon.
Yeah, where it's like, I think, again, there's nuance to it. Where, like, if everything you can buy small. Yeah. But if you can't, and it's way, way more convenient to buy something else, or just the selection is bigger, I understand. Like,
or affordability.
Yeah, like, there's lots of reasons. And also, not all corporations, like, we've decided that those are all evil. Not all corporations are evil. There are some that are, quote unquote, evil. But, like,
and if you dig into anything, you're gonna
shop
find
responsibly.
Dirt, right?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah. No, I think that it's a hot take, and I think it's kind of beige, like.
Well, definitely snobbery in any case. It's like we were saying with the natural fibers. It's like, yes, I think you should mostly craft with natural fibers if you can. But I'm also not going to be like, you made an acrylic blanket? Throw it out. Like, no.
So this is under controversial opinions on knitting and crochet. Also love that ChatGPT has, like, categorized these for me. But this one is also extra spicy. Your expensive hand-dyed yarn doesn't make your basic garter stitch shawl impressive. It's still a rectangle, just a pricey one.
Oh my god, did it phrase it like that?
Yes. Ooh, that one.
Well, I think it's kind of like, I think, people get, it's kind of like we were saying, when people get really culty about certain things, and it's like, I bought this $45 skein, or, like, I'm sure, again, that this applies to other crafts, where it's like, you bought the trendy thing, but you didn't innovate it yourself. And you don't have to innovate everything yourself.
Yeah.
You don't. You don't have to overcomplicate. Sometimes a simple thing is great. But don't claim that your beautiful thing is because of your work. It's actually because you bought something beautiful. And that's cool, too.
Like, give
but don't claim
credit where credit's due.
Yeah.
I think where I get red flaggy about this is I've taught a lot of friends to knit on really expensive yarn, because that is what I'm lucky enough to have access to, and I'm very grateful for that. And I remind my friends a lot that you need to be very grateful for the fact that you're not learning on Walmart yarn, like most people do, and they should be really lucky about that. but I also still champion when they literally just make a rectangle and a
Yeah.
scarf. I just think this is hilarious.
The phrasing of it's hilarious. I don't think there's a right or a wrong. It's just that is really funny.
This one I feel like we touched on earlier, so I'm just going to read it out, but I think you already shared your opinions on this. Some people knit and crochet at the same level for years and never improve, and that's fine, but don't complain when the pattern seems too hard.
Yeah. Well, that's very much like we were talking about with the making the same thing over and over again, where, like, yeah, like, some people have just decided they're okay with being a novice forever. And that's great, but like you just said, don't complain then when you're confused about this more complicated sweater that you've decided you want to try. Well, you've kind of just jumped from making toast to making an extravagant cake. Like, you can't just skip everything and expect it to be perfect and then complain. Yeah.
This next one I am green flagging because I agree with it, but you're probably going to disagree. The granny square aesthetic is not for everyone. Just because it's trendy doesn't mean it looks good in every context.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think beige.
Beige? Okay. Yeah.
Well, green, or does green mean of gray?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I agree. It definitely doesn't apply to everything. God, no.
I feel like
it
gets overdone.
Imagine this made as a granny square. That would look horrible.
I mean, someone else might have gone granny underneath.
Yeah, which could look great, but I don't think you need to add it to everything.
No, I don't think so.
Well, and like people get like I was making this or my dress in the yarn store, and someone said, "Oh my God, that's crochet." I didn't realize that not everything crocheted has to be granny stitch or puff stitch, and I was like, Yeah, it doesn't. You can make it in any stitch you want. You can make really, really intricate, beautiful things or really simple, basic rib like this.
Yeah.
You don't have to do granny stitch.
And it doesn't have to be everywhere.
No. I love granny stick wears where they belong.
Mm-hmm. I think that's something also that fast fashion has co-opted and made, like, everything crochet is, like,
that makes me sick.
Granny square.
Because there's no such thing as a crochet machine. So people hand make these squares, which take hours, and then they get sold for God knows what at Forever 21.
Yeah. So.
That makes me want to cry. Can we have an episode about, like, defining and trying to understand handmade? Because I think people forget that literally everything is handmade to a degree. Yeah. And, like, people are putting effort in. It's just whether or not they're being properly compensated. Yeah. This section is called Community and Cultural Takes. So I'll just do a couple because they're all kind of in the same vein. Fiber artists can be incredibly cliquey and mean. People act like the yarn world is all warm and fuzzy, but there's so much drama, gatekeeping, and exclusion. There's a weird cult mentality around certain designers. Some people treat their favorite designers like God and attack others who dare to criticize. And knitting and crochet groups can be as toxic as high school cliques. If you know, you know. Keep in mind this is what ChatGPT wrote, so that's hilarious. Crazy that ChatGPT could glean that from the online presence, but makes sense. I mean, I haven't really experienced it. I've seen it. Mm-hmm. I haven't experienced it. Like, everyone I've ever asked for help has been very nice, and like any group I've ever approached. Yeah. I think as groups kind of age in and out, they get like cliqueier and less cliquey as time goes on, kind of. I do think the knitting and crafting and crochet world is just more accepting of younger people right now because they need to be. Like, there's no way they could survive without accepting millennials and younger people. Yeah. But I do think there was a time where if you were a 20-year-old and you went into a yarn shop, you got snubbed. Oh, yeah. Even like 5 years ago, I honestly think if I'd walked into the yarn store I work in now, they may not have been like, if I had just asked for like beginner materials, I'm not sure that they would have been as friendly. Yeah. Whereas like now, like, I work there, and other people that are very, like, open to beginners, like, are more accepting and, like, want to invite you in. Which is really good. I find we're right now also in a huge trend of, like, beginner-level workshops and, like, drop-in level workshops of all sorts of crafts. So I feel like that's way less cliquey and way more accepting because people want to just share their ideas and share their crafts. Yeah, which I think is amazing. And I think... Keep the crafts alive. Yeah, that's the only way that they can. And, like... The point on drama and, like, knitting designers and cult mentality, I think if you don't think this exists, you need to go to Reddit and you need to just search, like, anything or Ravelry threads, and you will find the drama. Oh, yeah, it's there. It is there. There's threads on me.
and I think they're hilarious, and I choose not to go look at them because for my own mental health.
But that's true. You can find drama in every circle of life. Like, I'm sure
Reddit is great for it.
I am sure, Reddit categorizes the drama into different, very niche categories, and you can find drama, I'm sure, on every topic in the world. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, fisherman's drama, I'm sure exists.
And if you need to protect your peace, don't go to Reddit. That's all I gotta say.
Oh, but Reddit's a happy place sometimes.
You need to find the happy, but you can find the dark.
Okay.
There's some dark and scariness to Reddit, and it needs to be acknowledged. Okay, this is yarn and stash culture. Some people use stash appreciation as an excuse to hoard. If you have more yarn than you could knit in a lifetime, maybe just admit you like collecting it more than using it.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes, like, I saw something not that long ago that said, like, collecting craft supplies is a hobby of itself. And I think if we treat it like that, that makes it a little more understandable. Because, like, people collect totally, pardon me, but useless items of, like, collector's items of, like, old coins or something that, like, maybe coins are worth something. But, like, okay, collectibles of things that aren't useful. Yarn is at least useful. It has potential to be useful. But I still think that, like, there is an overuse, and it is like it starts to go into the overconsumption category, where if you're claiming to be slow fashion and sustainable, if you actually have way too much yarn, you actually still are over-consuming.
I think this hot take, I would say, is a red flag, because I think we do need to appreciate our stash and find stash busting and do whatever. Something I think would be a great movement to start, though, and I've been thinking about it a lot, is people that are older that have massive stashes that are never going to be able to use what they have. There should be some sort of a program out there as a gifting to young makers. Yeah,
or like an estate sale for yarn, but, like, it doesn't have to always be sold.
Yeah, or, like, go into your local yarn store and ask if there's someone that's younger that's coming in and maybe can't afford, or maybe, like, you want to support them. Bring in some of your yarn. Yeah. See if you can, like, I don't know.
I think there's like, free fiber libraries, like, free little libraries of books. I've seen free fiber libraries, but those are, like, pretty rare. I mean, like, people have to start them themselves. So I feel like, if anyone starts one themselves in their neighborhood, then let us know, because that would be awesome.
That would be really fun. Okay, final one. Not every project needs to be heirloom quality. It's okay to make something just for fun, or even gasp throwaway projects.
Okay, throwaway project to me is big, massive red flag. That is, like, overconsumption. Do you think
there's people that knit and throw their stuff out?
I think there are people I know there are people who knit just so that they can give it away for free at, like donate them. Which to me isn't completely wrong, because it's not going in the garbage, but it kind of is still overconsumption culture. You just wanted to make something. You don't care if someone needs it or not, and you're going to give it away to who knows who. Yeah. If you're giving it to someone specifically, or there's a homeless shelter that has specifically said they need warm hats, then you make warm hats. Fine. Or, like, people who make those baby hats for, like, newborns at the hospital. Okay, there's a use. But if you're just making stuff and being like, I'm sure someone needs this, well, it's still overconsumption. You're just, like, that's like if you buy way too much from Shine or Shein or whatever, and you go, well, I can just donate it, someone will want it.
Nobody wants it.
Nobody wants it.
Nobody's picking
And that doesn't mean that your knitting or whatever craft you're doing isn't valuable if no one wants to buy it at the thrift store. But probably no one's going to buy it at the thrift store. You know how many hand crocheted blankets there are at the thrift store that no one's buying? They're just there. Because I'm sorry, but frankly, they're kind of ugly. Yeah, because they're made by you and you loved it.
Yeah, there's people that
you're supposed to love it.
I have met in the past that say, oh, I don't buy your yarn, or I don't buy expensive yarn because I only knit hats or blankets for newborns in the hospital, and that's what I do. And I think that's great, and I think that's a very charitable thing. However, that's the word that I keep getting stuck on, because it's like, if you are so fast at knitting maybe babies' hats, maybe upgrade yourself to knitting something for yourself, or knitting something a little bit more complex, or, like, I don't know, something else. Like, it's like, there is also only so many, who knows, there's probably hospitals out there that could really use the tiny newborn hats. Yeah. But I know there's also some that have too many.
Yeah. Well, I think with the part where you said not everything has to be heirloom quality, I agree. That's like, I think you're setting a way too high standard for everything you're going to make. And some of the things you're making are going to be learning projects, and some are going to be little gifts. But the throwaway, and it's a gasp. I feel deeply about the gasp. That's like,
I think
you're buying something knowing no one needs it is like, that feels wrong.
And to make a sales pitch for natural fibers, at least if you're knitting with 100% of something, that is eventually going to be biodegradable. But do think about, not to hate on acrylic because there's a time and the place, but think about all the acrylic blankets you're making are never going to biodegrade, and you can never compost them. Meanwhile, a wool hat or wool socks, if they start to get eaten or if they start to wear down, if you put that in your compost bin, that is going to compost.
It's gone within less than a year. Yeah. So like, if you must do throwaway, well, please at least make it like biodegradable. But like, why are you doing throwaway projects? I don't understand.
Yeah. And ChatGPT says, to end us off here, okay, that's some peak spice. Which ones made you nod and which ones made you want to fight me?
Yeah. So yeah, let us know any of your hot takes that you think of that we didn't cover. I'm sure there's tons.
Or if you're a knitting nun, please come at us in the comments because I don't swatch and...
Yeah, and I didn't block this shirt before I wore it.
That's a red flag.
Sorry.
We never brought up the blocking one.
But yeah, that's, I guess, all the time we have for today. And if you have a topic or something that you want us to cover, once again, comment, reach out to us, follow us on Instagram at naturalfibers.pod, and hello the little C on Instagram, and
Kersti Makes, where we'll be hopefully posting updates of our projects.
Yeah. So yeah, have a great week, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
This podcast is sponsored by and part of the Koigu family. The opinions expressed in this episode are not representative of Koigu Wool Designs as a company and are not meant to be taken as business advice. Learn more about Koigu at koigu.com and at Koigu Wool on Instagram.